Paul Isto bera Eskoziatik dator, Wilderness Scotland abentura eta ekoturismo enpresako burua da, eta horretaz gain, ATA, nazioarteko abentura turismoko elkarteko kidea da. Elkarte horrek 6 kontinentetako, 60 herrialdetako 1000 agente baino gehiago biltzen ditu, tartean gidaria, komunikabideak, zerbitzu hornitzaileak, eta pixkat beraiek zer lan egiten duten azalduko digu Polek.
Ok, gracias. Muy buenos días a todos. Voy a presentar en inglés, pero primero unas palabras en castellano. Es un placer estar aquí en el País Vasco. He visitado Bilbao antes y los alrededores, pero me encantaría pasar más tiempo aquí, explorando los paisajes, la naturaleza, la comida y la cultura del País Vasco. Sí. En algunos respectos, creo que Escocia, donde yo vivo, es como el País Vasco. ¿Sí? Es verde y tenemos lluvia también, pero hace sol siempre. Bueno, entonces, continuamos. Y por nombre de Escocia, yo hablo buen inglés, entonces sí. Okay. So, I'm here to talk about adventure travel and sustainable travel and some interesting changes that we have seen in our business, but also from the perspective of the Adventure Travel Trade Association. I don't know, is anyone here that's a member of the ATTA at all? No, okay. So I'm going to explain a little bit about who the Adventure Travel Trade Association are. I'm on the advisory board of the Adventure Travel Trade Association, but my main job is with a company called Wilderness Scotland, and I'll explain a bit more about what we do. So we're going to look at exactly what do we mean by adventure travel, and what are the motivations for those tourists who are seeking out such experiences. We've got some insights and some very recent research, which I think you'll find interesting, around the motivations for adventure travel and how that has changed over the years. And then really going to take a more detailed look at what we can perhaps do as destinations, or tour operators, providers of tourism experiences. How can we change the way we present the experience to the customer? Okay, this is quite an old picture, but this is one of our first ever tours. Wilderness Scotland is a tour operator that specializes in active and nature-based travel. And we started in 2002. This is for a picture from one of our first trips. It's not good quality because the camera that we used, if you remember, some 15 years ago, was 1 megapixel, this camera, and we spent our entire marketing budget for the year on buying this camera, so I'm glad that we got one decent photograph from this trip. So we've grown from being a company, there were 2 of us that started it. We now have 30 staff in the office. We work in Scotland, Ireland, and England, and with a team of around 100 guides, we deliver around 450 tours per annum. They're between a week and 3 weeks long in duration. Beg your pardon. There we go. So, looking at the ATTA community, we have some 1,000 members, of which Wilderness Scotland is one of those members. In 2010, we had a big event called the Adventure Travel World Summit that takes place every year. It's, of all of the travel events I have ever been to, such as World Travel Market and ITB, it's undoubtedly different. It's an amazing level of energy. If you're interested in sustainable travel, you're interested in transformational travel, it's the place to be. I really recommend it. It takes place every year in October, and it's really helped our business develop. The ATTA is made up of over 1,000 members in 100 countries, you can see there, and they're around the world. You know, these companies are your large tour operators that you might know, like Intrepid Travel, G-Adventures, to smaller inbound tour operators like ourselves, travel agents, media, accommodations, destinations, outdoor gear companies, tourist boards. It's an incredible mix of people that are passionate and united through adventure. So the ATTA is about education, it's about connection, and it's about a network. So there's a lot of research, training events around the world, and keeping really the industry on top of trends that are taking place throughout the year. And it's about business solutions and business opportunities. Being a member's greatly helped us develop as a business. Okay, so back in 2005, so some 11, 12 years ago, the ATTA conducted a study around, what exactly adventure travel was, and they came to this conclusion that adventure travel really has these three elements. Okay, so it has nature, it has physical activity, and it has culture. And really, it's the combination of those that forms the sweet spot of adventure travel. Now, that brings in a lot of different types of travel, but in essence, that's a good thing because we're united by a belief that this is a better way of traveling. This is a sustainable way of traveling. Now, over the past decade, there is no doubt, and I'm sure all of us have seen this, that adventure travel has moved more to the mainstream. I was at the World Travel Market just last year, and there must have been 100 or so destinations that were using adventure or active tourism as a method to promote their destination. And that is a real big shift. I mean, a very big change. I remember going to World Travel Market back in 2002 as someone new to tourism, and I wasn't dressed like this, not wearing a suit, and everyone thought you were a little bit weird. You're a little bit strange, you didn't belong here, you were different. But that's all changed. Adventure has become mainstream. So what the ATTA wanted to do was to reflect on the past decade and see how travelers' attitudes towards adventure travel has actually changed. So it was the same university in the US that performed the research, and it really started to look at what the motivations and attitudes were of the modern-day adventure traveler. Okay, and what the result of this research was this. And I'm going to talk through this over the next 20 minutes or so before moving on and looking at some of the more detail. The study covered a range of topics, but one of the key questions was this, is what are the most important personal benefits you gain from adventure travel? Okay, so there are over 1,000 responses that were analyzed and grouped into these themes, and the responses were weighted to ensure there was an even split between male and female responses. Okay. What I'm going to do is look at the top 5 themes here. Okay. We'll make the research available if you're interested in seeing this further. And I'm going to examine the importance of these elements. And as we do so, we're kind of going to ask a few questions, really. Firstly, why should we care about this? How do we need to change the way we communicate with our customers? And if you're involved in product development or marketing, how important is it to understand these motivations, okay? What I think this tells us is it's a great opportunity. If you're involved in providing travel that is more meaningful, that has more purpose, that has a deeper responsibility, then this should provide great encouragement for all of us. Okay. So the numbers you see here are the responses from 1,000. They indicate that the most important response was this, which was the key finding was the modern-day adventure traveler seeks out opportunity for personal transformation and development. So in their own words, the travelers, the people that responded to the survey said, from adventure travel, they often get a life-changing experience and enjoy personal growth and challenge. Travelers also mentioned a sense of accomplishment and achievement and a feeling of gratitude and mindfulness. So in summary, we can say that adventure travelers are looking in some shape or form for an adventure transformative experience, okay? So this is just one quote from one of the respondents, okay? Now, if you think about it, we heard from Alex this morning, much of the travel that he referred to falls exactly into this category. And, I think many of us here will relate to the feelings that we've had when we've traveled around the world and experienced these things. But I was talking this morning to Carmen, and we were saying that this type of travel has been happening for centuries. If you think about the earliest pilgrims walking for weeks, days, or months to get to a certain destination, Santiago de Compostela, the source of the Ganges, they were some of the original adventure travelers, arguably. and they were on a journey of their own, a personal transformation. Some of the respondents in this category, they talked about three key things. One was personal challenge, the other was personal growth and development, and that gratitude and mindfulness piece, okay? So in the second half of this presentation, I'm just going to go in and look and consider from our own business perspective and generally as an industry, how can we create design experiences that will allow us to hopefully provide the right conditions for transformation to happen. So the second most popular theme was around this sort of expanded worldview, greater understanding of what is happening in the world. And again, I think we've probably all seen this or experienced. If we travel beyond our immediate boundaries, our immediate country, then we learn so much more about the world as a whole and the issues that we're facing. The respondents to the survey said that the cultural understanding from sort of history to customs and traditions all helped to expand their horizons and develop a much deeper and grounded understanding of the world. And that just has to be a good thing. All the challenges that we face in the world today, with a greater cultural understanding that is possible through adventure travel, that you're not going to get in an all-inclusive resort sitting on the beach in the Caribbean. This is going to be a different type of experience. And there's one really powerful additional quote to this one here that someone said. I'm just going to read this. We gain a wider perspective of the world, both personally and as a race of humans. We see other cultures and begin to understand how they view the world, from micro to macro views. In other words, their daily lives and how they view world events. Life should be lived, and adventures give us the greatest opportunity to live. So this is a kind of interesting one. Much of what we do, we're providing people with skills that are relevant to the outdoors. And that can take many different forms. It doesn't have to be an outdoor skill. It can be learning to cook. It can be learning a language, a whole raft of different skill building. And this is an interest. We talk about holidays as being a relaxation on the beach. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going. But people are feeding back by saying, look, this is about enriching my life. I want to do things that enrich who I am as an individual. So what the respondents said, the survey, we're looking for education, for knowledge, for insights, for learning new skills, and for wisdom. So in terms of sort of a product design perspective, we're about providing guided experiences. And I see, and I've spoken to a few guides already today, it's a hugely important role for the adventure travel guide in contributing to this objective, to this motivation. That could be learning a new skill, as I say, relevant to the outdoors, sea kayaking, rock climbing, to developing a greater understanding of the natural and cultural heritage in which we're traveling. So we really want to think in the product design process and what we're delivering, how can we connect people to that learning dimension? A local community activity, learning how to cook local dishes, learning local song, local dance language is all part of contributing to this ambition that travelers have. And really for me, I see from when we started 15 years ago, a key transition from a very sort of passive experience that many tourists had, where they were maybe driving around in their car, and they were looking at the scenery, and they'd stop by the side of the road, they'd take a picture, to one where the traveler, instead of being in the audience, is now actually part of the cast, is an actor in the overall tourism experience. And I think this won't come as any surprise for any of us that are involved in active and nature-based tourism. People are looking for a feeling of discovery and interaction with nature. I'll give you a reference later in the presentation to some additional research related to this area that's done by a man called Michael Bennett, whose PhD was on transformative travel, which I think is probably the first of its kind anywhere. And he refers to this discovery as the zone unknown. Yeah, a place which provides the physical and psychological separation from the everyday world in which we all live. This separation provides travelers with new and exciting challenges and opportunities that allow the reconsideration of perspectives, values, and priorities in life. And it also importantly provides the space for personal reflection and transformation to take place. So, really, again, coming back to a product development perspective and a promotional marketing perspective, the benefits of engaging with nature, wild places, and wilderness, I think should be at the forefront of your communication if you are involved in this type of tourism. The benefits are well documented from a health standpoint, from a physiological standpoint, from a psychological standpoint. Yeah, just something that one of the respondents said. Okay, so the final headline theme of the top 5 is what adventure travelers have described as mental health or a sense of well-being. They're saying they want to escape the usual routine and find some space for mental calm or peace. I think really, so I love this quote. It's about expanding or redefining limits, feeling at peace in this crazy world. I mean, my job is working in this environment, but I feel my world is still too crazy. And to escape that, there is nothing better than to get into a wild place and find time to just, reconnect and recalibrate. Some common words that the respondents referred to, this was escape, change of routine, freedom, peace, relaxation, disconnection, a clearer mind to recharge and reclaim a sense of well-being. To me, I think this theme, is very contemporary and really very important. Our world is totally overwhelming from a digital perspective, and many of us are craving that desire to turn off, to disconnect. So if, as providers of tourism experiences, we can give that opportunity to do so, provide the space to really immerse in the culture, in the nature of a place, then we'll be doing a great job. One thing we see a lot, we work with a lot of American clients, American guests, and they are always wanting to fill the entire tour, like every minute of the day, 24 hours a day, every minute. Yet, actually, what they would benefit from the most is spending more time doing less things. So some things that we've factored into our own product design is time alone. So some solo time for guests to enjoy in a multi-day group tour. For example, providing the ability for people to go off in controlled conditions, to go off and enjoy a walk on their own. Very few people find the time to do that in their everyday lives. Consider what your policy is on mobile devices, on telephones, on trips. Do you ask people to put them in a bag and not answer them for the next week? People will start to freak out completely. They will not be happy with that. But just trying to respect people's boundaries and give them the opportunity to escape at the same time. And also at the end of a multi-day trip for us, we take the time to review what has actually happened and hopefully provide people with some context for when they go back to their daily lives as to what has actually happened over the past week or 2 weeks. Achievements that they've made, places that they've been, people that they've met. Okay, so just those are the remaining 5 themes you can see there. As I say, you can read about those in the research. Please do check them out on the Adventure Travel Trade Association website. So the survey also looked at certain factors when it comes to adventure travel. And this is one of the key changes that the research has shown over the last 12 years. So back in 2005, the respondents said they associated adventure travel with risk, extreme, physical, exertion, danger, and hardcore. The Red Bull kind of, approach to adventure. But really now only a very limited number of respondents said the same. So only 5% of people said that being in physical danger was an important part of the adventure experience. Risk, only 8%. And I think that's just a really big fundamental shift. Adventure travel has undoubtedly changed. When 60% of people are saying being in a natural environment is the most important thing, then we know that the balance has shifted. Okay, learning was 40%, meaningful experience is 35%, okay? So, really, I think what we have here is a new definition of what adventure travel is. When adventure comes into many people's minds, they do naturally think of, extreme whitewater rafting and jumping out of planes. It's changed, and then we've seen it change massively. The picture I showed you at the very start, that was a backpacking trip, 25-kilo backpack, in the wilderness for a week. No one buys that product anymore. People are looking for different things. It also touched on activities as well, and these are not necessarily the activities that were the most popular, but the ones that people most associated with adventure. However, there is also additional research that the ATTA does every year, which looks at the most dominant activity type, and these are very consistent. Okay, so hiking, walking is the top activity. Then we're talking about kayaking, rafting, backpacking, trekking, and closely followed by mountain biking and road cycling too. Okay, so if you are in this market already, that will probably make sense. If you're thinking about developing more active-based tourism product, then that's where the majority of the market's at. Okay, so moving on. So trying to make some sense of this, put this into practice. Transformation is a very big word, and it's important to consider what that actually means. So just going to firstly touch on what we're not going to do, and then look at really the role of emotions in transformative travel experience and the customer experience, okay? And then thinking about how we can evaluate the products and experiences that we're designing. So, what you're not going to do, and we haven't tried this, just so you know, on day one of the trip, if you're a guide, you're not going to say to your clients, you are going to be transformed. Yeah, that will not work. That will definitely not work. It's important to be realistic. Yeah? If we are a provider of day walking tours in San Sebastian, there is only so much we can achieve. Alex going on a 3-month expedition to the Himalaya is going to be very different to doing a food and wine tour, in this area in Tuscany or whatever. But I think, it's really important to also remember that transformation can take place on many different levels. So this pictures, we were very lucky as a family. I have two children, 7 and 10. And Ewan here, my son, this was the first sort of real wilderness canoe trip that we've done. It was 4 days on a river where there was no escape. You basically went onto the river and you had to paddle for 4 days to get out at the end. And for me, that was a big decision to make as a father and a parent. And for Ewan, you see his paddle here, it's not in the water. And that's generally how he paddled for 4 days, yeah? The paddle didn't go near the water, so it was very hard and challenging for me. But it was an incredible experience. We were wild camping on the river. We are a long way away from anywhere. There's no digital connectivity. I'm not going to say the trip changed my life, but it definitely changed our relationship, I think, as a family, and how much confidence that he had on being on a river and being in a remote place. And that comes from a boy that's very active. He mountain bikes a lot, he skis, but it was a very different experience. So, transformation can take place on lots of different levels, and it doesn't have to be a total life changer. Just if someone comes back from a 1-day tour, which is food and wine, and they feel different about local food and the importance of buying local food and consuming local food and understanding the environmental impacts of mass-produced food, then that's great. I mean, that's a real win for this type of travel. That's going to lead to a more sustainable world. So be realistic when it comes to transformative travel, but also recognize that even small changes can be very significant. You know, if we provide individuals with more confidence to go out and go hiking on their own, then that's great. That's going to lead to a healthier lifestyle for them. If they learn a new skill, the ability to communicate in a new language or cook a local dish that they can share with their family and friends, that's also going to be a huge positive. So we've done a lot of work around the emotional side of the customer experience. And Colin Shaw and John Ivans, you've probably not seen their work, but they are, I would argue, the two leading experts on the emotional aspects of the customer experience. And they have a quote that is this. It says, essentially, 50% of the customer experience is emotional. If you take care of the emotional elements of the customer experience, the rest will take care of itself. The reality is that so many of us just focus on the 50% that is physical. So if you use a hotel as an example, they think about the furnishings, the linen on the bed, the TV in the room, and then often the service just isn't there. There is no emotional connection with their guests. So if you can be one of the few companies that really does pay attention to the emotional aspects of the experience, then not only are you going to be better than the competition, but you're also going to provide the right framework for transformative travel to happen. So just going to look at sort of how can we create the right conditions for transformation to take place, and just the role of emotions in supporting transformative travel. So I mentioned Michael's research. There is an increasing body of research that looks at the various aspects of transformative travel, but not a great deal has been done on how destinations, tour operators, tour guides can actually facilitate this in the tourism experiences that we provide. I think for us, our starting point is ensuring that the basics are always done correctly. The customer environment is conducive to allowing transformation, travel, and personal growth and development to happen. Okay, and there really are no shortcuts, so that's about getting it right every single time. We've heard from Ruros, Destinations, Alpine Pearls. It's really about the consistency that you have across all aspects of the customer experience. And we use this simple model in guide training to explain what we mean. I'm sure people have seen this before. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, maybe. Yeah, psychological theory. But it's a useful reference tool to understanding how travel has changed. So if we look at the basic needs, Costa del Sol, etc., yeah, people go there from the UK a lot, and they just collapse on the beach. And all they're looking for there is warmth. Yeah, that's really where they're going. And they don't do anything more with their holiday, but it's the most basic of needs in the pyramid. Yeah, but what we're talking about in active travel, nature-based travel, sustainable travel, is providing the ability for people to have a much more meaningful experience. And if they can achieve a peak experience, something that is truly transformative, then that's an amazing outcome, okay? But the key point is you have to get all part of that pyramid in the right place, yeah? Unless you take care, if someone feels uncomfortable over a longer period of time on a trip, or they're not happy with the accommodation or the equipment, they're not going to get to the top here. They're just going to be frustrated. So it's really important that we think about all aspects of the customer experience. And if you're a tour operator or destination, it's every single part of the experience. You're only as good as the weakest link, yeah? So one business, one individual can let the side down. And it's great to see, Ruros, that number of people going through the process, I think, provides you with a much greater chance of success. So this is something that has developed through our own guide training program. We have guides that are technically qualified in the activity. So by law, they are mountaineers or mountain bikers or sea kayakers. But this is around the emotional aspects of the experience, and it's something that many guides, it's new for them. You know, they're not so aware. And we've sought to sort of try and summarize this in two different ways. One is around the sort of web of engagement, and the other one is the web of transformation, which I'll share. And this is really about the power of providing emotionally connected travel experiences. You know, these are the ones, I'm not saying that this isn't gospel, this isn't, you know, this is our view and what we think works based on 15, 16 years experience of doing this. And we're saying that if you can get these emotions, you know, connected with and embedded in your clients, your guests, your customers, then they're going to be in the right place to move on to the next level, to have an experience that hopefully will define them. And again, you know, the role of the guide here, I just can't really underestimate, can't overstate. Much of that personal development and growth and transformation will happen as a result of a guide doing the right job. You know, I would describe the guide as almost like the conductor of the orchestra, and the orchestra is the experience, you know, and with the right method and approach, you know, they can lay the foundations for personal growth and development to happen. So just a few questions to think about if you're a provider of experiences, you know, or a guide. How often do you ask your customers or clients, what is the purpose of your trip? You know, why are you traveling here? Why are you traveling with us? You know, are there any special interests or places or connections that you have to the location that we're visiting? Thirdly, you know, what experience does the customer have and how open are they to pushing their comfort zone if it is an active-based trip? And how can I provide this individual with the space, the opportunity for escape, relaxation, and learning within the boundaries of the tour or trip that I'm providing? Just some of the questions that you might want to consider. So I'll just let you read that just now. We looked at engaging emotions. These are really emotions around sort of transformation that we've seen, and we've experienced this ourselves. I just want to highlight a couple of these emotions before I show you a short 3-minute film about one of our guests who traveled with us and something happened, and I'll explain the story. But just looking at challenge, because that came up in the research and people talked about challenge, you know. You know, as adventure travels move more to the mainstream, you know, we've seen a reduction in the level of challenge and the element of challenge, you know. So, you know, where a physical, psychological, or cultural challenge exists, the potential for personal growth development is far greater. I mean, all the research supports that. But I think part of the challenge for us as tourism providers is ensuring that adventure travel remains adventurous. Yeah. There's a very quick story from Yvon Chouinard, who you may know, the founder of Patagonia, the clothing company. He was speaking to a man called Jim Sarno, who started an adventure travel company called Geographic Expeditions in the US. And Yvon and Jim got to know each other. And one day, Yvon asked Jim, he said, "So Jim, tell me a bit more about Geographic Expeditions. You take people to Nepal and Pakistan, right?" He says, "Yeah." So Jim explained what he did as an adventure travel company. He says, you know, we organize the flights, all the logistics, the porters, we take care of people, we make sure the equipment's right, and you know, we make sure that everything works. And Yvon Chouinard said, I get it. So you're the guys that take the adventure out of adventure travel. And in a sense, he's right, you know. Yvon Chouinard has never been invited to speak at the Adventure Travel Summit for that reason. You know, but it's very relevant. I think it's a challenge for us, you know. On the reconnection piece, and the film that I'll show you is a really good example of that. You know, we're trying to provide opportunity for reflection and introspection on the travel experience, you know. And if we can do that, then the opportunities for sort of new insights and self-awareness are far greater. What I'm going to share with you in the film is a client that booked a 1-week trekking holiday with us, and they fell ill. And they really wanted to go to this one particular place, this one beach. on a remote part of the coast in northwest Scotland because her grandfather had worked in the lighthouse there at one time. And unfortunately, she fell ill and couldn't travel to the beach that day. She had to leave the holiday. So we arranged specially for her to go with a guide, and you'll see two of the guides in the film here. But what I like about this is I think it just shares many of these emotions that we're looking for in the transformative travel experience. So let's hope the sound works here. Oh, no. We have sound but no video. Okay.
Just to be able to be out in it, to feel it as well as see it and hear it, and that feeling of connection with it all. The space, the peace, and the quiet, the silence is you can't put a price on that. I was taken ill during the night and got whisked off to hospital by ambulance in the morning and never made it. That was the first day and the day we were going to come here, so I never made it. I had a phone call from Rachel in the office last week, and she said that they'd arranged a trip for me over this weekend, and they tried to sort of do it sort of secretly, so it was a surprise, and it was it's probably the best surprise I've ever had, ever.
Hello. Glad to meet you here.
I was just turned round downstairs in the hotel. It was like a vision. It was Kirsty standing there. Yeah, I did the Autumn Highlands trip last year that Kirsty was guiding. She's just perfect. There must be other words to use than that, mustn't there? But she's just great fun.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, I missed that one.
Oh, how nice.
She wanted us all in fun there.
I'll treasure the memories forever. It means so much to me, you'll never know. It really does. This part of Scotland, it feels like home. I just truly live and breathe it. Yeah. And I feel really privileged to know it.
Thank you, Paul. Eskerrik asko, galdera bakarrarentzako tarte dakago, larri gabiltza eta beraz aprobetxatu norbaitek nahi badu. Bai. Paul.
Okay, that should be okay.
Bai, entzuten da, ez? Kaixo, hemendik. Nere galdera da gidarien prestakuntzan ingurun. Oso ondo esan dezu gidarik bidei mota hauetarako oso garrantzitsua.
Un ratito, por favor.
Txuen pixkat. Bai.
Yep.
Bai, nire galdera doa gidarin prestakuntzan ingurun, oso ondo esan duzu gidarik ze importantek dian bidai mota hauetako, bezeron garapen emozionala ingurun dijoalako, eta ez du, galderak lantzen dituzuela, ez? Bezeroien beharrak zeintzuk dian jakiteko, eta alik eta ondo nasetzeko, baina uste dut galderak bakarrik ez diala nahikoa, ez? Beste begirada bat behar dula gidari horrek bezeroiengan. Nola lortzen da hoi aste batian bakarrik, eta nola aukerak eta hoi, gidarien aukerak eta hoi nola iten duzuen eta prestakuntza. Mila esker.
Okay, so that's an excellent question. The guides that work with us often have a lot of life experience, and they are not ready when they apply for a job. Most of our guides have been with us multiple years, and to get to the level of someone like Kirsty that you saw in the film there, it does take many, many years, and it is not easy. Like you say, it's very difficult to provide those skills, but we've invested a huge amount over the last decade in guide training. I think we're the only company that I'm aware of that has a full-time member of staff for guide training. They do nothing else except organize and deliver guide training. They do guide reviews each year, and we're not aware of any company that does that. We just believe in the power of a good guide in transforming the experience, but we can always do more. We need to do more. We're doing this week, just this week here, we have a week-long training program, and that is for guides that have been working for us for many years. The core program that we have is 12 days of training, and that is additional to any technical training. So it doesn't include, technical skills such as, mountaineering. That's all different. No first aid. That's all different. This is really about creating great customer experiences, and that's the starting point. But like you say, it does take time. And in terms of understanding more about our customers, yes, we do research. We could definitely do with more research. What I would emphasize is the start of a tour is critically important. So part of the training for our guides is that every individual client will receive, a one-to-one conversation on day one of the trip to try and understand what it is that they're looking for out of their experience. And we will encourage our guides to regularly check in, regularly speak to guests throughout a week to say, how's it going for you? Is this trip meeting your expectations? Are there things that we haven't yet done that you would like to do? And the longer trips, they tend to yield better results. So we do a lot of journeys, say walking from coast to coast across England, north of England. It's like a 13-day trip. And people on that, I say, genuinely are really in a good place to have a life-changing event. Some people they've changed jobs, they've changed their relationships, they've gone to work in completely different industries. The longer you have, I think, available, the greater the chance is for good things to happen. And that's why I really want to emphasize it doesn't have to be about a life-changing event. It could be just simply feeling different about one particular environmental issue or social issue that would be a positive outcome from this type of travel that I think separates it from many other types of travel that are out there.
Barkatu, astiz, nahiko larri gabiltza orduan, ez bazaizu inporta galderak beste papertxo hortan idatzi eta gero jasoko ditugu. Bai, eskerrik asko, Paul, thank you so much.